Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Charles Green and I'm the Director of Thought Leadership here at Balatrix Software, and I'm going to be your host and presenter today. And firstly, a very warm welcome to today's webinar. And today I'm going to be talking about the role of marketing in software product development. How are marketers getting more involved? How are they influencing software development? And how can they use their skills to help bring the voice of the customer deeper into the product development process and ultimately lead to better products being created and hopefully then more revenues being generated. But first up, just before we get started with the presentation, for those of you not familiar with Balatrix, we are a leading provider of software development and mobile application development services. We work with organizations ranging from Fortune 500 companies to small, innovative Silicon Valley style startups across the world. So I should also note that during the presentation, we're going to be live tweeting using the hashtag #MarketingBSF. You can see that on the screen there. And there's also going to be some time for questions at the end of the presentation. And you can ask a question either by typing into the bottom right-hand side of your screen on the GoToWebinar or via Twitter using the hashtag #MarketingBSF. But really to set the stage, it's been our experience over the past couple of years that marketers have been getting more and more involved in software development. Now, I should be clear that, of course, the role of the CIO or the Chief Technology Officer remain clearly dominant. They are the stakeholders that we work with the most. They're typically the people that we engage with in our projects. But having said that, we have seen the role of marketers and the CMO noticeably increase, and that often their insights are being brought into engagements, or they're directly involved in some of our engagements. And one of the reasons for this is that marketers collect tremendous amounts of data on customers and the market, and have therefore increasingly become the path to including the voice of the customer in product development. And data and analytics has really made marketing completely different than it was just a few years ago. And as a result, during the rest of the presentation, I want to share with you some of the findings of the research that we've conducted here at Balatrix, and also from some of the discussions that we've had from our customers, including some of those who are involved in marketing. But first up, I want to talk about one of the another key reason for the role of marketers and the CMO to increase. It really brings me to the theme of today's presentation, and that is that your app is your brand. That marketers have become involved in software development because they recognize the importance of a company's products and applications for their brand. The closest relationship that an organization has today with their customer is on the smartphone or their tablet or whatever device they're using, where the customer opens up the application and then they engage directly in their moment of need in using that particular software to fulfill that particular need that they have. So whether you are a bank, a financial services provider, a hotel, or an airline, your customers engage with you and think about your brand via your software and the mobile application. And it really comes down to this, that if your company develops a great application or software product and customers use it and tell their friends about it, this is the best marketing you can have. So it's a very clear motivation for marketers to get more closely involved in software development and product development. So what we're seeing here is in really the role of marketing in the development process increasing due to two main factors. Firstly, that product development is impacting the brand more than ever. The brand is less can be less greatly influenced, for example, by advertising. It's rather the product and the engagement that you have with the customers via your applications, for example. And then secondly, that marketers have access and control the data on customers and the market, which can either be used by the R&D and the product development organization, and it has tremendous value for them, or they can lead the product development initiative themselves. It's at this point, however, that I think it's worth taking a step back and considering how the role of marketing has changed over time and how has it ended up with more data and more influence than it has done in the past, and how this data has tremendous value to the organization, given that customers also have more power than they used to. So here I want to talk about the changing role of marketing. Now, traditionally in organizations, data was collected and analyzed through a series of planned actions, which then impacted a company's activities, from resource planning to marketing. But today, the situation is very different, as there's a flood of both structured and unstructured data. And it's no longer the fact that data is simply collected in structured ways, such as via a market survey or via interviews, but rather that very valuable data is generated from unstructured sources, ranging from the product use statistics on your mobile application to social media conversations such as on Twitter and Facebook, to sensor data on individual products, particularly those products with, for example, with the Internet of Things, which are connected and have that connectivity, so that there's being collected all that data. Now, big data tools can help collect and analyze this tremendous wealth of information. And one of the interesting data points here actually on this topic is that today analysts estimate that the majority of big data implementations are for marketers. And indeed, one of the biggest challenges that marketers face today is actually integrating with a range of different technologies that they have available. Now, this data has also enabled marketers to improve traditional marketing activities, such as being able to connect the traditional marketing funnel from the lead generation activities at the top all the way to the bottom. It helps provide insight into different marketing activities, whether it's brand awareness or demand generation. But it also means understanding customers and their desires better. And again, this is also reflected in surveys. According to one particular survey by the consulting firm EY in 2015, the #1 reason to implement big data analytics was to understand customers better. And the second was to improve products and services. And reflective of this changing role of marketing and the increased influence of marketing, the research company Gartner believe that the CMO budget for technology spending is today now on a par with that of the CIO. So what this means is that as marketers, we can take advantage of the extensive range of marketing technologies, from predictive analytics to data management to content management platforms. And it's really changed the marketing profession dramatically. And data has been the backbone of this shift. There's been a change from this consideration that anyone can do marketing to it becoming one of the most important business functions. And this change has gone side by side with the increasing power of customers. That customers today have more information about products and services than ever before and are in a position to rapidly take their business to a competitor if they're not satisfied. So to sum up this part, we can really say that data has played a role in changing the CMO role from one of just commercialization to one with a broader strategic remit, including product design and customer experience. And actually interesting, nowhere you can see this change more clearly than when you look at marketing departments in software as a service companies, which in many cases really at the forefront of these changes. Because in a SaaS company, the B2B marketing has really been transformed and it encompasses not just traditional activities such as advertising, but it's really going along the whole spectrum, along to content marketing, paid acquisition, and also lifecycle nurturing, which is becoming ever more important given that there are more and more opportunities to cross and upsell once the customer is already using your SaaS product. And just to give an example or a sense of the variety of data that is available, and today that organizations are collecting to inform their analysis, you can see here that a list of the range of data from machine-generated data from all the Internet of Things devices, perhaps for example your smart washing machine, to how we're using mobile applications, to the huge amounts of social media data, which is also complementing our more traditional customer relationship data and the data that we have stored in the company's ERP and back office systems. There's also a wealth of third-party data which can be used to complement and augment existing databases such as open data or weather data, which can provide a very interesting analysis. Now, as I've mentioned, understanding customer data is one of the key reasons marketing is now becoming more involved in software development. Research has also indicated that the most innovative companies involve marketers in product development. Now, this is not to say that the role of R&D is diminishing, but rather that the skills of marketers are increasingly important when bringing in customer insights into the product development process. And academic research suggests that the more innovative the company is, the earlier they bring in their marketing departments, marketing teams into the process. And this contrasts quite significantly with the fact that in many organizations today, there's very little connection or coordination between these different business units. Crucially, however, we're seeing that marketing data provides the ammunition to change this. And it's worthwhile thinking of the R&D division and marketing as a bit like the left-hand side and the right-hand side of a brain. The left-hand side, or in this image, this is on the R&D side, on the left-hand side, is characterized by logic and of science and of research. And it's also apt here that the left-hand side of many organizations tends to have a more dominant role than the more creative right-hand side. And you see here the R&D here being responsible for creating new technical solutions, for finding fundamental breakthrough innovations. That's really the heart of what the R&D department is charged with. However, the left-hand side of the brain is also not really known for its strengths in creativity, but for that there is the right-hand side. Well, here's the marketing angle, and the strengths of marketing being in creativity, bringing together creative ideas and bringing in the ideas of customers into the organization. The skills of marketing involve creating great customer experiences that people are looking for. So really, in an ideal world, R&D and marketing work together in new product development. And actually, if we look at this slide, we can see, if we look at the data, we can see that 42% of CMOs today recognize the importance of building strong peer relationships with the head of product and research and development to build an innovation pipeline. This is because they realize the importance of helping their organization shift to the digital world where customers are in control. And this is a very key point to emphasize, that customers today have more power than they have ever had done in the past and what they used to. And again, people talk about this being the age of the customer. And that's because the balance of power has gone away from organizations towards customers, who by using modern technologies have greater insight into different products and services. There's greater transparency. There are lower costs involved in switching between products than there used to be. And there's also less risk in doing so. And the evidence for that, evidence that there's less risk, is that if you just look at how fast some new products and services have been adopted by people in recent years. If you look, for example, at Pokemon Go last year, at the speed at which it was adopted, or the rapid adoption of iPads just a few years ago. Perhaps most importantly about this is that customer expectations are greater than they ever have been in the past, really driven by the laser focus of organizations from Apple to Netflix to Disney in creating great customer experiences. And this leads on to really what is the heart of the presentation, that armed with data, marketers are now responsible for creating these great customer experiences and are more involved than ever in product development in order to achieve this. I want to give an example here of how leading retail companies are using this data to improve customer journeys and create seamless customer experiences, because it is the technology that enables you to understand how people are using your product for a much greater range of touch points. So here, for example, we're seeing retail companies creating data blueprints, bringing together the latest big data technologies, including machine learning and analytics. And the aim here is to use these technologies to generate a much deeper and richer profile of the customers using this data. And by doing this, the company can understand the different points along the customer journey and make sure that at each touch point, their software or application is meeting their needs. And here the big data strategy should consider, of course, the different range of types of data, and also how relevant different data streams are. For example, the ability to see in real time how a customer is using a product may be considered more important than historical transactional data. But really at the core to all this, and the core to improving customer experiences, is marketing data. And here we come to an important intersection in examining how marketers and CMOs can create an effective data strategy. And there are really two parts. As I come to the latter part of this presentation, I want to start here talking about creating the marketing data strategy, and then in the next slide I'm going to go on and talk about how marketing can get more involved and influence to a greater extent than they have done the product development organization. But again, firstly, when looking at this, when creating a marketing data strategy, the first step, of course, is really to decide on and choose the right data. As marketers today, we are being flooded with more and more data. I mean, even just within Google Analytics, there's a wealth of information on how users engage with your marketing content, or with your website, or your blog, or your white papers. So as mentioned, there is you have this data, you have a lot of structured data, you have a lot of unstructured data. So the first step is really to analyze and decide which data streams are going to help you understand how your customers are engaging with the product, and then decide how you can best use that. And in order to achieve that, it may be necessary to work together with your technology organization to make sure that you have the right technology in place to collect and analyze this data. In larger organizations, of course, with multiple business units, a common challenge then is, of course, how to bring all that data together into one unified perspective. Again, it's going to be necessary there to work with colleagues in the technology organization in order to build a program that enables you to share data across different parts of the business and ensure that the people that need the data have access to that data. That's really the final point, that make sure your team has access to the data they need. Can they see how customers are engaging with your organization, how they're engaging with the product? And that means making analytics tools available to them, or making sure that business intelligence tools are available to individuals, so they don't need to ask every time in order to get access to the information that they need. And once the data strategy has been put in place, marketers are then in a great position to be able to help colleagues in R&D. But of course, there are some best practices that I believe that can be useful. Firstly, and this really goes without saying, but the research on customers will be some of the most valuable insights that marketers can provide. Understanding whether it's a B2B buyer or a B2C buyer, can be challenging at times. There's so much information from different angles, but there are new tools emerging to help with this. One tool in particular, which I think is worth mentioning, is Sintel, for example, which is a tool which enables marketers to integrate personas into your CRM system and your marketing automation. Now, it's not the only tool offering such a service, but what it does do is it does help provide greater insight into the specific persona. So what is, if you're targeting one particular type of individual, what are their skills? What are they reading? What are their responsibilities? And then it complements those insights with social data and personality data as well. So you can really build up a very clear picture of who your customers are. And secondly, I think it's important that that marketers have the freedom to start product development initiatives themselves. That if they see there's a need in the market, that they can take the initiative. So if individuals or teams have an idea for a new product, can they have the resources to follow this? Can they have the resources to implement this? It's not uncommon today in organizations for marketers to lead such initiatives and bring together a cross-functional team involving other departments. And indeed, that actually reflects the broader need to change business structures in a more customer-first organization. So what one research organization has spoken about is that there's a shift from functional siloed organizations to customer-driven matrix structures. So in a customer-driven matrix where you're bringing together many different people from different parts of the organization with the singular goal of serving your customers better. Meanwhile, also CMOs are recognizing the benefits of hiring individuals with data analysis skills who can crunch the numbers and provide additional insights. But again, just as a word of caution right at the very end of this presentation is that beware of the misuse of data, and that potentially if you use data in a way that perhaps is inappropriate or can make customers feel uncomfortable, then that's one of the quickest ways to cause distrust with your customers. So there's a lot of opportunity here for marketers to use data to help product development, to even lead product development initiatives in organizations. So what I want to do, bringing the formal part of the presentation to a close and opening up for questions, really to sum up, we're seeing that customers have more power than ever before. We're seeing that for organizations, their software and their app now constitutes the brand. And we're seeing, as a result, marketers and CMOs getting more and more involved in product development. But with that, I want to open up for questions. And just a reminder, to ask a question, you can either do that via the chat box on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, or via Twitter using the hashtag #MarketingBSF. And I'll just give it a couple of minutes to see if any questions come in. And actually, I see we have the first question. First question is, how do you think other executives view the role of the CMO today? I think it's a great question, and clearly I think many executives recognize that the role has evolved and expanded in recent years, that the portfolio of the CMO now includes, for example, responsibility for customer experience in many organizations, in nearly half of organizations, according to the data that I've seen. There are also many cases responsible for helping to drive the organizational change that companies need in order to prepare to be more digital organizations. I think there's also recognition in the C-suite amongst executives that a poor customer experience is linked to poor business results. And also the opposite is true, that improved customer experience is tied to increased revenues. And again, this is also borne out by research. And so little by little, the CMO role is adapting and becoming more and more important. And I think in the future, we're going to see the CMO, this trajectory continuing as the CMO becomes one of the, if not the, one of the most important executives in most organizations. Okay, let's see if there are any other questions that are coming. Okay, I see there are no further questions at this time. So with that, I would like to bring this presentation to a close and say a big thank you to everyone for joining the presentation today. I hope it's been useful and insightful for you. If you do have any follow-up questions after the presentation, then please do let us know here at Bellatrix. We are always delighted to talk and to share our insights with our audience. So please do feel free to reach out. I should also mention that a recording of the presentation will be available within the next 24 hours. But with that, I would like to say thank you and wish everyone a very pleasant rest of the day.